the notes?
I am. I'm writing down who's present at the moment.
Okay. And
Recording.
Courtney is also.
I see a hammock, but no Will.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're here, Will?
That's it.
That's a good idea, Will. I like that. Take your face off and just that's
See?
good. I may do that.
Perfect.
How do you do that?
That's
That's a special skill.
Yeah, it's called having Wi-Fi and
All right.
Bluetooth.
Will is at the meeting.
Okay.
Yes.
Good
Okay.
evening, everybody. This is a Marina Advisory Committee meeting. It is 7:03. We are going to start the meeting. John, I don't see John Wolf here yet. So are there any announcements? I see Lions. Is that you, Sheila?
Okay, you guys.
There's a person named Lions on here. Okay. We'll start with announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Well, just that the rendezvous has been canceled by the town, the Wellfleet Rowing Rendezvous. So that's not happening.
That's unfortunate.
Yes, I agree.
Always a great event.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's the way it goes.
Are there any other announcements? We'll go to open session. And I believe, Dave, you wanted to be heard in the open session?
Yeah, I just wanted to make mention, is there any way that we can resolve the freshwater issue down there so that it actually works? I'm just, I had 12 rods I had to use on my first charter, and I took them all home. It was kind of an inconvenience. And then I did again today. I had a trip, and I had to bring all my rods home to wash them. I just don't know what's going on. It seems like it happens a lot.
Will, can you respond to that?
Sure. Well, we have a underground well and a very old system that we have a brand new pump. We have brand new pressure tanks, brand new kick tank. Now we have a brand new switch. And, unfortunately, it's not a house without water. This is a little more complex than a house without water. Capello well drilling has been down a ton down there to try to figure out what's going on with the system, and get it to run perfectly. I don't know if that'll ever happen, that it's going to run perfectly because of the age of the infrastructure in the downtown. He has been there quite a bit though, and it seems that once he fixes one problem, another one comes up with the system. So the other option is to go to town water, which then we'd have everyone washing down with a fee-based water system. And we used to have, which we had to take out this year because that sprung a leak, a water meter for the docks. Now, a lot of marinas will charge you for your water and electricity use. We could go to that. It would be hard to charge each individual person, but we'd have to charge the boaters as a whole like we would do with a transient for water usage, because we get charged a significant amount of money to use town water.
What does it cost to run it with, if all things were good and the well was working, is there any expense that the town, other than probably electricity, for the power to get the well going?
The well, nope, no expense but power, repairs, and maintenance. And the current town water to run the bathhouse, which is the only thing on town water, I think we paid a couple times a year. I may be mistaken on this, but I believe it was a couple $1,000s just to run the bathhouse.
Right. Okay.
So
So-
is that the only place in town that, or the only place nearby that you can put a pump in? I mean, is there any other possible places to put a new well in, I guess I should say?
Turn it down, please.
I don't know of any other place they could put it down there that would pump out any kind of fresh water. I don't even know how that's pumping out such good water where it is. But it's down across from Wellfleet Marine. Right
Yeah, I
there,
know
that's
where
where
it's
that's where the well is. Yeah.
Been there
so,
forever.
Yeah, I don't know any other locations that it could be. It's just such a older infrastructure. I mean, even it has to travel how many hundreds of yards even to get to the pressure tanks already, and then it travels that much further to even get down to the marina. So I don't know.
What do you think is the long-term solution?
Well, I don't know. We thought putting in a new pump last year would have solved all the problems, but it didn't. It added more, smaller issues. We needed to put in a new pressure tank, a new kick tank. So I don't think the lines are bad, but he's trying to figure it out now. But knowing what the problem is now would help us to figure out a solution for the future.
Mhm.
So
whereas
we don't know what the problem is now, right?
No, we don't. He thought he's been trying everything, and now he's going home scratching his head trying to figure out the next thing that he can
Right.
figure out to try to get this system running. I mean, the well is underground there in a small little chamber. So one of the big problems with that being in that little chamber is it has a long way to go to be able to reach the pressure tanks, which is why we have a small kick tank right next to it.
Yep.
But that's, ideally the pressure tanks would be right next to the pump, but we can't have that in that location without putting it in the people's yards. That little doghouse is
Yep.
right next to the.
So has there been anybody to possibly think about a new place to put a new pump in? I mean, have you guys?
That'd be a question for Capello.
Yeah.
If he could put it in anywhere else or not.
If we ever got the 3 Kendrick Ave, maybe there's a spot there for a pump.
Well, that would be huge. Yeah, you still got to pipe it and run it, but it's going to cost.
Yeah.
There's going to be a little bit up cost, but
Might be more reliable from there. Well, I don't know. It's just a suggestion.
well, it's all about the veins of good fresh water, and I'm sure
Yeah.
Frank's got a good idea where they are in that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Who is the guy? Do you have a well guy that's with this?
Yeah, Capello.
Oh, okay, because
Frank.
Frankie
It-
Capello.
You don't get many that's more knowledgeable than Frank too. They're
No.
good. So
Yeah, Frank's good.
No, Frankie's good. Frankie knows what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, like most things, the infrastructure is just old.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we've been starting in the past year or two to upgrade things, but
thanks.
it's hard to upgrade things before they break.
And drag along an
So-
old system.
Yeah, so I've just had to be reactionary to everything and replace it as it breaks.
Oh, okay. I mean, no, I'm not pointing any fingers either, Will. I hope you know that. It just,
No,
you know,
yeah,
it's just one of those things, it's, from my standpoint, it's just a little frustrating, that's all. But, I get it, it is what it is. I feel better that I've had an explanation. I really never asked for one, so I guess, that was on me, but, hey.
you're one of the few who haven't.
Wow.
I fix
It's-
stuff all the time on that. What the leaks, and I bring in new things, and I do little stuff just because I hate to see it leak a little bit. But
And that
you
would
know.
be the problem with the town water is every leak is another penny.
money, it's
Um,
money.
And that hose on the dock needs to be replaced. That's irrigation hose. That's meant to be below
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
And it's old,
It
and
is.
and every time you refit that, it just gets that less
Shorter.
pliable.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's all the valves are hard to turn. We just need to put some money into it.
Yep.
Well, is Frank suggesting that there might be a solution now if we put money into it, put more money into it?
He's trying to figure out what the problem is right now. He was the switch, and so he replaced that or check. And he's just having a real time with this problem, trying to figure out where it is. I mean, there's been a couple different things he's tried. He went home today to think about it more and try to come up with a solution of what to do with a couple test options. But, you know, whether it be a separate pressure down at the harbor,
Mhm.
or, you know, and have a third tank, or what. And again, any money that we can is probably way less than hooking up to town water. So whatever we got to do to update the air system would be best.
Are there any other comments or questions on that,
I have one.
John?
Have any of you ever dealt with Neil Godway?
Yes.
Yeah, I've dealt with both, and I've dealt with Neil for a number of years, and I think he is top notch. And if we need a second opinion, it might be a good idea to talk to him about this.
I don't think we need a second opinion. I'm not, my question was just out of, I didn't know where we were at with it. I think we're in good hands with Capello, in my opinion, but that's just me.
But it sounds like Will is saying that it's an antiquated system.
Yeah.
And it's vulnerable to breakdowns here on out. And Frank is a sharp guy, and he's having difficulty figuring it out. So maybe bringing in that second person just one time for an opinion might be a valuable thing to do.
I have a good relationship with Neil, and they fly him all over the country troubleshooting municipal well systems and stuff. He's pretty sharp too.
I would
You want to keep go ahead, Walter.
I would talk to Frankie about it first without, he might be a little sensitive. You might want to broach it with him, say, hey, you want some help, rather than just say, hey, we're bringing in another guy. Frankie can be a little sensitive about stuff like that, I know.
Agreed. I know both those guys very well. I've dealt with both of them on my own personal stuff, with other family stuff. We've done multiple things with both of them.
Frank's
And,
had to put my well in.
And across the board. And Neil, I've had to put wells in. I've had him. I know both of them very well. They're both very knowledgeable. I think Walter's hitting the nail on the head, though. You got to just make sure that everybody's on the same page.
I could see that.
Well, something to keep in mind down the road.
By the way,
For
my
sure.
apologies for
Absolutely.
being late. I had trouble with Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments or questions regarding the well? No? Okay.
No.
And we're still in open session at the beginning, and I believe, John, you had an item that you wanted to present in open session.
Yeah. In the general context of things, it's probably not the most earth-shaking issue we face, but we have a weather station at the harbor master's office, which has a feed that, among other, at least I access it off of Weather Underground, and find it extremely useful in my charter business to be able to see what actual conditions are before I even head down there or have my clients head down. And it goes offline an awful lot. And there used to be problems with the station itself. It seems like those have been ironed out, but the online aspect of it, I don't know if this is something that the harbor master's office deals with or if it's the town IT guy. But it seems to me that, since we've put, the town paid for it, and it is a useful thing to have. It ought to be working. And I just wonder what might be done to make it more reliable.
Will, you have any thought on that?
I think it's extremely reliable. I think for the most part, it's always on. I check it. I check it daily. It's been
Mhm.
off right now. Our internet also blinks every day. You could probably ask Dave. He buys a lot of fuel there. How often our internet goes in and out for the computers.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean. That's probably
Oh.
the problem, is the internet, not the station
Yeah.
itself.
But there is also other stations right along Mayo Beach as well. There's one a couple hundred yards down the street that you can check if ours does happen to be
Yeah,
out.
that's been offline for weeks.
Yeah, yeah. Weather reporting. Yeah. But our internet is wireless through the town, across from what I was told, the harbor, from the fire tower to the water tower over to somewhere else. And I think the bigger concern would be a better internet system to begin with, not just for the web, but for our computers to help run every transaction. The weather station, pretty much 99% of the time, that's up and running. It's not today because I had to reboot computers and I shut it down before I left. So
Mhm.
So they need some boosters.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I didn't think it was the station itself.
You think it might be
seemed to
the
be some
internet?
sort of the internet issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many people check it? Because when Bill and I sail, we check it before we sail, and it seems to always be on. But that's only summer. I mean, David, do you check it or?
I've never had a problem with it. So, I have like 4 or 5 different apps that I go with because I'm going outside a lot of times, and I need to know what the weather condition is in the bay is a little more important to me than right at the harbor.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of, you turn that corner, you get a nice, light wind. Like this morning was a light wind.
Mm-hmm.
I went out, I figured, oh, it's going to be a beautiful morning. And I came around the corner, I had that northwest wind, I got slammed.
Yeah.
I had 5-footers out there. I was, for the first, hour and a half, I was holding on the rail. It was
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm a little, I rely on a lot of different applications to try and make sure that
Okay.
I have the best information, because, a lot of people that get seasick if I don't.
Yeah, I've had
The
trouble
captain.
getting it on my computer here. I don't know if it's weather. The Weather Underground got bought by IBM, and ever since they got bought by IBM, they're not as good as they used to be.
I
For you
agree.
Apple people.
Yeah,
Hmm.
maybe. I don't know, but
Is there another app that I can access it on?
Do you have Android or are you on Apple?
I'm on Apple.
That's why.
Oh.
It's like a lot of things controlled.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. We'll move to public comments. Is there anybody in the public who is on who has any comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'd like to move on to the minutes. The last meeting was February 27th, 2020, and I sent you those out. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Are there any comments, any amendments offered? Do people need time, or should we move toward a vote?
I think we can move to a vote from my point of view anyway.
Anyone else need any time?
No.
Okay.
good.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to accept the minutes is printed.
For February 27th, okay. Is
Second.
there a second?
Second.
John, you second? Okay. All in favor, please, as I call your name, indicate aye or nay. David?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Alice?
I was not at present, so I can't vote.
That's correct. Flip, were you there?
I nominated the minutes to be accepted.
Right. Okay, let's see. John, you were there.
Aye.
Okay. I think we have everybody who was there. The motion passes, so the minutes are now accepted. I'd like to move on to the other outstanding minutes dated December the 4th.
Before you move on, will you send the, I don't have copies of the February 27th. Will you send them to town meeting?
Oh, sure,
Okay. All right.
sure. Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay.
So we're now, the previous meeting was December the 4th. And present were Walter, Alice, John, David, and me. Alice sent those out to everybody. Has everybody had a chance to review them? I'm sorry, was that a comment? Okay. I would like to offer one amendment regarding the permission I received for the committee for the involvement of the Assistant Town Administrator, Michael Travato, to be included in those minutes. And let me just backtrack for a minute. In early October, I introduced myself to Mr. Travato and learned that he was a lifelong voter and had experience in writing grants for marinas. So I asked him if he'd like to be involved in some of our work, and he was quite positive with one stipulation, that the committee would have to receive approval for the request from the town administrator. So the discussion was had at the meeting on October 23rd, and I would draw your attention to the last paragraph, subject 3 Kendrick Avenue land discussion. And I'm going to quote from the last sentence. The committee discussed having Joseph request that the town administrator allow Mr. Travato to participate in Marina meetings when requested. Walter moved, John seconded. As a result of that, I went to the town administrator and presented it to him, and he granted approval. So I brought that back to the next meeting on December 4th and informed the committee that the request was granted. Mr. Travato was allowed to participate. He was quite positive about that, and subsequently in February gave a presentation to us. Given the problem issues with this in the past, and the fact that Mr. Travato requested that formal approval be gained with it on the record, and that I addressed it, I would like a simple statement included that I received per the motion passed on October 23rd, that I received permission from the town administrator to utilize the assistant town administrator in our work ahead. So I would like to offer that amendment with that statement included in the December 4th minutes.
All right, I have some comments, but that has to be seconded. The amendment has to be seconded.
I'll second.
Okay.
John?
Who seconded it? John? Who seconded?
Somebody else did.
Hey, Walter.
Walter, okay. All right. Joe and I have been going on and on about this since December. When I sent him the minutes in December, he had several things he wanted me to change. And that was one of them. But in my notes, there was no mention of Joe meeting Travato. He may have, but in my minutes, it was Mike who said that the new assistant town manager would like to be more involved in the Marina Advisory Committee. In my notes, I had nothing that Joe had met with or anything about needing approval. That may have been in the October minutes, but it did not happen, as far as my notes were concerned, in the December minutes. So I was loath to change the minutes as Joe wanted them changed. And actually, he wanted a lot more changes, and I think it were for political reasons. And I do not want to change minutes for political reasons. Now, Joe I don't know that we can do this now, or whether Joe should write this up and you can all read what he would like, and we can do something at the next meeting. But that's where I am.
Okay, just to allow me to make a comment, that there were a few other items, and what they were elaborating a little more on what Alice did include. However, in trying to reach a resolution on this, I waived my request on elaborating a little more in those items. I'm fine with what she presented on the other items. However, the motion was passed. I did act on the motion at the direction of the committee. It is a matter of record that I talked to the town administrator, got his approval, informed Mr. Travato, and came back to the committee and informed them that approval had been granted and Mr. Travato will be working with us. And for the reasons I stated, I do want that on the record.
So
Comments,
my question though, Joe, is that from my minutes, when I wrote right after December, the only mention of Mike Travato came from Mike Flanagan. And you have something from October, which is fine. I wasn't at the meeting, whatever the minutes were, it's fine. But I don't want to change minutes on what should have been said at a meeting and wasn't said at a meeting. I think we've got to be very careful about that. And maybe we should be careful and do things more in motions, because anytime a motion is made, that definitely gets put in the minutes. Conversation doesn't necessarily get put in it, and which is the other things you wanted me to include was more conversation. But this one specific issue, in December, the only person who mentioned Mike Travato working with the Marine Advisory that I wrote right after the minutes was Mike. Now, maybe the best way to do it is you should write up what you want, and the next meeting, the committee can decide.
Well, are you open to the possibility, Alice, that you didn't hear it?
I guess, but you know, I wrote those minutes like the next day, and
Okay,
I suppose, but all I remember was Mike talking about Mike Travato possibly being interested in working with us. So that's all I could say.
okay, discussion on what I'm proposing. Who would like to speak?
Well,
Nobody.
Joe, I can say that I do recall you bringing that up. I do recall that whole conversation, and I do believe that the town manager gave you approval. The town administrator gave you the approval to go ahead with that. That was my recollection of that meeting. It was a while ago, but you know, I'm not sure, you know, what got lost in the translation, and it's very possible, you know, that, you know, Alice omitted it. I don't know. You know, I didn't even look at those minutes until tonight, really. But honestly, it to me, I do recall that conversation. So from my standpoint, I recall Joe bringing that up.
But was it in the October meeting? It's in the October minutes.
It was the same time, it was the same meeting that Michael had mentioned something as well.
All right.
December 4th,
Correct.
okay. I remember it because I had it written down to present, and I thought it was very, very significant that we would have a grant writer that we would not have to pay for to write grants for the marina. And when I have a motion directing me by the committee to take an action, you know, it's an important issue that I take.
My memory is not the greatest, but I do seem to remember something like that being discussed, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Especially since in the October meeting, you know, that was all recorded in the minutes. And I do remember you saying something about the town manager saying, yeah, no problem. And like I said, my memory isn't the greatest, but I'm pretty sure that something was said about that, just like Dave said.
Mhm. Mhm.
And maybe it was just a conversation and there was no motion, you know, and it didn't get recorded. Some meetings, I mean, not this board, but some minutes are very brief and they don't have any details at all in them.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a motion, Walter, because I was simply informing the committee of an action that was taken on the motion in the October meeting.
Yeah.
So, you know, I informed the committee that it was very positive and that I thought it was a major step for us. At that meeting was Walter, Alice, John, David, and myself. So we have a motion on the floor, I believe, for that amendment. Is that correct, everybody?
Yeah, and a second.
And who seconded the motion?
Walter.
Walter seconded the motion. Okay, as I call the names of the attendees, if you would please vote. Walter,
Aye, positive.
okay. John,
Aye.
Alice,
No.
okay. David,
Yes.
okay. And I vote aye, so the motion passes.
All right. I just want to make one comment. I was put under an awful lot of pressure by Joe. A lot of emails back and forth, a lot of, not even on this particular, there were other things that he wrote, a whole page of where he wanted me to change, language that he wanted in the minutes, language that did not happen at that meeting that I'm not going to go into. And I'm very concerned about the kind of pressure that I was put under. I actually feel that it was ethically wrong. But
Okay,
the
I would
committee's made a decision. Let's go. Let's pass on.
Okay, I would like to respond to that, seeing you're accusing me of being unethical.
I had a lot of pressure from you, Joe.
Okay, my first comment is I carefully worded my emails to you so that there would not be any pressure. At no time whatsoever did I direct you to do anything. I really can't do that without the committee involved. At no time did I say you had to do this. What I offered was what I saw and heard at that meeting and my suggestions. Now, there's a little bit of history here. In the past couple of years, Alice has more than welcomed me to comment on minutes. Sometimes she expressed to me that she didn't remember a few things. I elaborated on them and she thanked me. That has been an ongoing process. It has never been a direction. It has never been pressure. I've attended the open meeting law presentation offered by the town's attorney. I've read the Attorney General's discussion on the open meeting law. I have never, nor will I ever, unethically put pressure on anybody. And I would ask anybody in attendance now who has ever been pressured by me to speak up. The second thing I have to offer is my last email to Alice, which she refused to respond to, I thought was unprofessional, at least to keep the lines of communication open. I waived the elaboration on some items because the basic statement was there. I offered my thoughts. She didn't want to do it. I said, fine. But I really felt strong about this issue because it's a matter of public record, and there have been problems with it. The utilizing of the town administrator or the assistant town administrator in other committees that I was advised to avoid. As a result of that, I acted on the motion and I reported back to the committee. And if those people on the committee are interested, at any time, I will produce to you my communications to Alice, and you can make your own judgment as to whether or not I have acted as she has charged unethically, or that I have put pressure on her unethically. I'm an open book. The statements are here. Call me and I'll send them to you.
Joe, I think you should, because I would not do this. But if you want to, I think you should, because it's pretty obvious there what you wanted me to do. And one of the last things you said was, the reason you were elaborating these various sections from the December meeting was that discussions are going to be had and decisions are going to be made by the select board in the near future on these matters. I expect lively discussion with strong opinions, some in opposition, to be offered. I want the max position to be very clear and on the record. We weren't clear in some of these meetings, so in the minutes you wanted it clearer, but we didn't make it clear at the meeting, and I can't put in minutes things that weren't said at the meeting. And that's why I didn't respond to you yesterday, because I had responded a number of times, and I just did not want again to respond to say I wasn't going to change the minutes. And your previous thing about, yes, I sent you things, usually it was I didn't know the name of an official and I needed the name of that person. It was not this page that you sent me on December 13th, which is asking me to change 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. You know, that was over the top for me. But anyway,
Okay.
It's been accepted, Joe. Let's move on.
Okay, I have a comment. I want to respond to what you just said. And again, this is open if anybody wants to look at it. When I sent those items to Alice, they were not asking for changes, not at all. What they were asking for an elaboration on some items that she included. She included them. I thought they could have been elaborated on a little bit. At no time was there ever a request to make a change of factual information that she had down there, which was fine. I was simply looking for an elaboration. When she indicated that she did not want to include an elaboration, I said, fine. This item is not an elaboration. It was missing, okay? We're all human, and I expressed to her in writing, we are all human. We don't catch everything. We aren't tape recorders. When I have taken the minutes, when Alice has been away during the winter, as some of you know, from time to time, I have called you to verify the information that I had written, just to check in and make sure it was accurate. And some of you have been very helpful. That's all I have to say.
All right, Joe, here's what you've got. The third entry under Harbor Master Report starting with Mike Travato needs to be moved up to, needs to be. The Marina Falls slip rate section should read as follows, should read. In dredging update section, the third entry should read as follows. 3 Kendrick Avenue section should read as follows. Should read, should read, should read, needs to be. I found that pressure. But can we say the minutes have been accepted for the December meeting? Let's move on. We have an agenda to take care of tonight.
I agree with Alice. Let's move on.
The next item on the agenda is a dredging update. Will, would you like to offer a few thoughts on that?
Sure. October 1, obviously.
You're breaking up, Will.
Okay, sorry. October 1st, dredging should begin in the federal channel. All moorings will have to be out by Labor Day in that area. Hopefully the feds will come in. They've now changed that to 90% of the 100% of the dredging. So what that is the 1 foot overdraft may or may not get done over day. And that is where we currently are with it.
Do they have a contractor?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. They haven't released, I don't believe they released that. Have they, Joe? They haven't released.
The last I heard was when their engineer came here in March for the meeting with the dredging committee. And at that time, he stated that the RFP would go out and they hoped by mid-May to have selected a contractor. I have not heard anything since that time.
Yeah. We received an update from them on it. I'll see if I can find it, if anyone else has any questions on that. But anyway, that all did go out and they put out the RFPs. And
Mhm.
let's see.
So they're saying that dredging's gonna start October 1st, but they haven't said who's gonna do it.
Correct. I'm looking and reading the email from the feds right now as I talk to you, just so I can. We've completed the plans, and I'll read it to you. This is from Craig Martin from the Army Corps. We have completed the plans and specifications and drafted our solicitation. Everything is in its final review with our contracting officer attorney. We listed the 15-day pre-solicitation notice required on May 6th. We anticipate the release of the RFP next week. I will let you know the moment we put it on sam.gov. And then he highlights, we have a base contract for the entrance channel, the anchorage down to 9 feet and an additive to the last foot from 9 to 10 feet. We are doing this because we don't know how contractors are going to react bid in a time of potential COVID operations. And the fact that the town's piggyback dredging project this year relies on the Fed mobilization effort. Essentially, I'd rather accomplish 90% of the dredging in the critical areas and allow the town to move forward with its needs than no dredging at all. We've done a risk analysis and feel this is better than having bids come in high and leave the government potentially unable to do the effort at all. So that's where we're at. That was
Okay.
June 3rd.
I was recently put on the dredging committee by the select board, and it might be a good idea if I ask the people on the committee, the acting chair, to contact the Army Corps for an update. Any discussion?
Did Dennis resign?
No, not that I'm aware of, but I don't believe he has been attending meetings.
Yeah,
And Chris Algier has been acting as the chair.
yeah, because when
I could ask Chris for an update.
when Flip and I were at that meeting, he was making a lot of noise about resigning or not being able to attend.
Yeah.
That email was the update June 3rd. I mean, we're only 5 days.
Oh, okay.
So
No, I didn't realize it was so recent. Yeah, well, there's our update.
yeah.
Is there a likelihood of him resigning from the board, the task force?
He seemed to indicate that he's going to be spending a lot of time in Florida in the winters and couldn't devote the time to the dredging task force. At least that's what he said at the meeting we were at, as I recall that.
Absolutely. That was my recollection.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if he's followed up on that. That's all.
When's the next meeting?
Hasn't been scheduled.
I'm not aware of anything. Any other comments or discussion on that?
Yeah, there are people in town that still don't even know that we're going to have dredging. I mean, I just got a question the other day, and I answered whoever it was, and I said, "Oh, they're going to start October," and they said, "What?" I'm just, there's just a lot of people that still don't realize this is happening.
That's true.
It's just a comment, I mean, it's going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen. But it surprised me, to tell you the truth.
Well, we don't have anybody ready to actually plunge the stuff into the mud. So,
No, that's true. Got a lot of talk from the Corps of Engineers right now.
yeah.
So the Corps of Engineers need to hire an outside firm to do this.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. And they have not done so. Will, that they haven't indicated anybody, correct?
Correct. They have to put it out to bid, and it's in that process, is what that email stated.
Yeah. Okay.
You better hurry up.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, the next item is channel markers at Shirttail Point. Walter had requested that this be on the agenda. Walter?
Yeah, usually there's channel markers coming up inside past the L pier. There's one set of markers, but usually there's a couple there, and then there's a final set right at the end of Shirttail Point, which are not there. Just wondering what was happening with that.
I got the last gangway out Thursday night.
Okay, but I was talking about channel markers.
Yeah. We still don't have water. We've been working on that.
Yeah.
I got the last gangway out Thursday night.
Okay.
So you can see the progress here is a
Okay.
little bit slow.
Yeah. Okay.
So channel markers are probably going out or going to go out, but it is the least on the list of concerns. Now that I've got all the gangways out, channel markers could be a little more relative.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't bother me much. I know where the channel is, but that end changes a bit. And, there's people here that don't really know where that mar ends. And just, it's nice to have them there. That's all. But if you guys are busy and working hard, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. I haven't gone on vacation yet, so.
Well, that hammock looks good.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, those palm trees look pretty nice.
I was trying to set it as a background, but that hasn't happened yet.
That must be South Wellfleet.
Yeah.
South Wellfleet.
He's my neighbor. Yeah, it's beautiful up here.
It's Flip's backyard.
Any
That's right.
other discussion on that? Okay, Martha had requested the Marina parking issue be on the agenda. Martha?
Well, I'm just concerned with the situation this summer with the potential of the parking lots at the oceans reduced and with the restaurants only serving at 25% capacity inside and then serving takeout outside. And we've already seen that, Pearl's put up a tent, and I'm sure Max and the bookstore will be doing something like that. And over the past several summers, we've had an incidence where we've had difficulty parking sometimes at the marina. And I think it's going to be very highlighted this summer. I think it's become more difficult for people that are renting here to obtain beach stickers. You can only do it online now. And I think many people probably try to utilize Mayo Beach. And I think many people probably try to, park in the parking lot and somehow catch a ride to the ocean beaches. So I see our parking lot as becoming somewhat of a potential issue this summer. And I don't know what we can do about it, and there are, signs down there that it's, like 4 hours, and that's it. But what about all of us that have boats that are out for more than 4 hours?
Comment?
I don't know if anybody else has any feelings or comments on that.
Martha, I think you're absolutely correct. I think there's going to be a shit show down there this summer, to put it bluntly. And I also feel that, at some point, if things gather like in other towns, if it gets crazy, there's going to have to be a flow of traffic, a flow of people walking around the pier, which is, sounds goofy, but this is some of the things that other towns are already looking at. because so people don't crisscross and all this other nonsense. And yeah, you park 70, 80 cars down at the pier. They already want to do half capacity at the ocean for parking. I mean, we're definitely going to have a situation where there's going to be some conflict down there. I can see it. It's going to happen. I don't know how we're going to deal with it. I don't know. I've thought about it a couple of ways, but I don't know exactly what the right thing is. But there's going to have to be a flow. There's going to have to be a really, people need arrows to tell them where to go these days, which is unfortunate. But I think we need to do something maybe like that.
Any other comments? Okay.
No, I just think we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I don't have any idea about it.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I don't think any of us do. I was just trying to,
Yeah.
brainstorm to think if we could get out ahead of the game on this because,
Start writing tickets.
I
There you
I
go.
think it's going to be a
That'll never
problem.
happen.
So
don't
did
see it
the
happening.
parking committee, the Wellfleet parking committee that met, did they come up with anything that people like Dale Donovan was on? I mean, was there any resolution through all the discussion that they were making even before COVID? Was there any plans?
I was on the parking committee. There was a lot of research done and there were recommendations made to the select board, which are online. And to this date, the select board has not acted on any of them.
Okay.
Well, the other thing I don't know, do any of you know? I mean, right now, the Bakersfield, the whole area there is kind of cordoned off. And is that going to be opened at all this summer? And will that parking lot be open? Because there's another, 10, 12 parking places. And I don't know,
Yeah.
Playground.
and Pearl put that 10 up. So there's another 4 or 5 parking places. And I think Mac Shack's putting a 10 up down in their lot. So there's another, 7 or 8 parking places gone. So it's, I think it's going to be a potential problem. That plus the fact that the more and more people that have takeout food, I can see them all over the piers sitting on the benches, eating takeout food and
Sitting in their cars
yeah.
or the back of their pickups.
I saw one with a table
Yep.
over at the
bookstore.
bookstore. Yeah.
Really?
A
Yep.
couple had a table. They were sitting having dinner on their pickup after they ordered their takeout.
Yeah, in the Mayo Beach lot, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
right in front of the bookstore.
I believe the select board has voted to close the outer parking section of Whitecrest.
That's already closed. Yep.
And I believe that the beach administrator is recommending that Newcomb and LeCount parking lots be reduced by 25%. I don't think that has been acted on yet. However, one thought that has been suggested is by shutting down that number of parking spaces, it will encourage people to park at the marina and Uber to the beaches.
It's a
That's
good
been going on already, so it will continue.
Mhm.
possibility.
Any other comments or discussion about that?
Well,
Okay.
I think it's going to put a real bottleneck on things, and I think it's going to put a lot of stress on the harbor master's office too. With boats trying to pull in and out of there and to park there, and frankly, I probably see on a good day more usage of boats too because people can't access public areas. They're going to go out in their boat.
Correct.
I can share with you discussion from parking task force and people coming in and making comments that I think it is the view of the parking task force that in the next few years, parking at the marina is going to be a very red hot issue. With the advent of dredging being completed, more boaters spending more time on the water. And what I had suggested to the parking task force, in which they discussed at length, was viewing it in a broader sense down there, not just the marina. When we look at who is parking at the marina, the weddings, for example, Max Shack parking, the businesses, Giraldi's, and on, that it should be looked at in total. And perhaps there should be discussion about utilizing a shuttle bus to make that loop with off-site parking, with restricted parking at the marina for boaters. That was discussed at length. It was incorporated into the recommendations that now are before the select board. And that's as far as it went.
So there's basically nothing that can be done this summer, I guess, you know, to do anything at this point. I mean, on a positive standpoint, the theater's going to be closed all summer. And I know the Holden Inn's got a sign there that they're closed for the 2020 season, but I don't know, does that mean that their weddings are closed too, or just the inns?
Yes. Yes. No weddings, no people
You
at the
know?
Holden Inn.
I mean, I offered to the parking committee, and it was accepted, that the harbor master's staff cannot become full-time parking attendants and manage that situation all of the
No,
time.
No, but they have the authority to write tickets. Is that not correct, Will?
Yeah, we do. We write a lot of tickets.
Attaboy.
Yeah, we write a lot.
Well, my question is, does the local police do any kind of ticketing down there, or do you discourage that because you want to handle it on your own? As far
No,
as that goes?
they're actually they put the bike patrol down there,
Yeah.
and they encourage people over by the fuel dock a lot of the time, and they encourage people to continually move, stop parking in the fire lanes. Yeah, usually they have the bike cops down there, and they're very helpful with keeping things flowing, especially over towards the Max Shack area or Max on the pier area.
Yeah,
where people
that's the hot spot there.
Yeah, because there's so many people too in the way. They're really great to have down there when they are. So
There's no beach bum, no beach sticker office down there, so that's going to loosen it up a little bit, but not by much.
yeah, that'll help in the mornings with the early morning traffic or that late
Yeah.
Friday afternoon traffic quite a bit. But
Most of them probably don't know that that's even happening. They'll show up and they'll be there anyway, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they'll leave.
And then they'll leave.
Well, I have a question. Who's enforcing the 4-hour limit down there with those signs?
no one.
No one. That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
No, that's a particularly hard one to do. That's more of an encouraging statement than anything.
Okay.
Chalk mark, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
Meter maid.
Mhm. Any other discussion on that?
Well, yeah, Joe. So if you were on the parking committee in this other committee, I mean, what? And it's in front of the select board as what? Just as a suggestion?
It's a final, the select board requested a final report, which is filled with everything that was addressed, including marina parking, and then formulated into recommendations, which is what they wanted in the charge. And so we presented the recommendation along with all the research that was done, the surveys that were done at the beach, the marina, and so forth. And, they thanked us and took the report. I got the impression they were not in any hurry to act upon it.
When was this?
I believe the report was presented in March, early April.
Okay.
And we did a oral presentation to them on the research, on the testimony, on the recommendations. We spent a good deal of time on the recommendations, and they were available to ask questions. You know, it was a back and forth session, and we gave them, you know, the physical copy with everything in it. And then they dissolved the task force. But there are, I would, you know, recommend you look at it online. You know, there's a statement in there that I'm going to send everybody that they asked me to provide regarding marina parking. And I provided that statement. I read it to the select board at the parking task force session with them. And in a nutshell, you know, I said it's going to be a difficult issue in the near future with the advent of dredging, that we have a marina enterprise fund, and the town provides virtually no funding for the marina. We're the only town on the Cape that has that, and that if we don't provide, you know, dredging and provide adequate parking for boaters, they're going to go elsewhere, and the income generated to the enterprise fund is going to go down. That, you know, it's a broad-based issue that you know, has to be looked at by then. I provided them with documents, signs at Max Shack saying parking lot filled, park at the marina. I provided them with a copy from the internet, from the yoga studio there, telling people not to park there, park at the marina. And it goes on and on, okay? We took testimony from other businesses who denied having their patrons parked there. That was disputed, okay? There's, as you know, a very long history of the marina parking lot serving as the town's municipal parking lot. When we looked at other marinas in other towns, every one of them had a marina parking lot and had a separate downtown municipal parking lot. Wellfleet, as we all know, does not have that. So the perception has always been, the committee concluded, that the marina serves as the town's municipal parking lot. We heard testimony from the cop who was down at the Beachcomber lot all summer long, you know, and comments that he has gotten from beachgoers, how they always park at the marina and Uber to the beach. So I think we did an adequate job of filling them in on who parks there, where they're going, that it serves as a municipal lot, with a strong recommendation that off-site parking with a shuttle bus be considered, as they started in Chatham 2 years ago. That people, you know, hypothetically boaters could drop, if need be, drop their gear off, you know, buy their slip, park their car in an off-site lot and take a 5-minute shuttle down to the marina. That was one of the suggestions that the select board is going to have to look at. We wrapped it all up and gave them the research, who's parking there, where they're going, and presented it with an ominous tone that when dredging is achieved, there are going to be more boaters spending more time on the water and are going to need to park. Any other discussion or comments?
Well, we're -1 parking lot this summer too, which is going to add to the flare of additional people. So.
Okay, Flip, you had requested the item on the agenda, maintenance on floats.
Yeah, I was curious, as I know we're like rebuilding some of the cement floats as they go down there, and I know it's a process. But I was wondering if there's any upkeep that we could do to prevent more wear and tear on our docks. Maybe some pressure washing, cleaning, re-nailing of boards. I know you guys have enough on your plate, Will, don't get me wrong, but if there's an outsource that we could do to maybe do a little more maintenance on what we've already built. I just didn't know if there's something that's in the plan of how we address this, or if it's just like we just replace every year, every 5 to 10 years.
What kind of maintenance were you thinking, Flip?
Well, I mean, pressure treated wood needs to be cleaned. When it's wet and it's mildewed and moldy, it gets very slippery. It can be a little bit of a hazard for people. Some of the boards that are uplifting, they can maybe be re-nailed. That's the basic maintenance that I'm thinking. I mean, I'm not going to go overboard with, doing any kind of sealing or using cedar, or we're changing our wood and all that. I know the cost is extravagant when you get into it, but just trying to maintain what we have. Even flipping boards over at times. If you have a board that's warped and it's flipped up, it's catching, a toe catcher, you can take it off and flip it over. I know that's a lot for these guys to deal with, and I just don't know if there's like a way that we could maybe incorporate some sort of a fund or a outside carpenter. Somebody comes in and just when they're out of the water, we say, okay, here's Joe. He's coming to fix the boards. He's going to pressure wash them. He's going to fix them, just as a maintenance, as opposed to having to replace everything and have these guys having to deal with it, along with the plumbing, along with putting buoys in, along with everything else you guys got going.
Like a subcontractor.
Well, yeah, just a subcontract, maybe. I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
if you
sure.
had like $5,000 or $10,000 budget said,
Exactly.
somebody that you hired and said, hey, in the
Yep.
fall, do $10,000 worth of stuff.
Exactly. Yep.
That's it seems like a possibility. Depends on the budget we have, obviously.
Right. Obviously, but you also don't want people getting, slipping and falling, or people breaking their toes and cleats coming out, stuff like that. Oh, my cleat blew out and my boat ran away. Whatever. I'm just trying to be proactive.
Will, any thought?
I agree with Flip 100%. I think the start of that would be how we store them in the winter.
That's a good idea.
When we stack them, they tend to be shadowed and wet, which is where a lot of the mold and mildew would come from. Which I know Jamie and I were there for a part of the winter, scrubbing and bleaching and power washing part of those, like the public dock section. We chose that and scrubbed the heck out of it. So I think that could be a good start to a lot of that. They wouldn't be shadowed in there. If we laid them all out, it took up, I know it's not popular, but if we took up the majority of that parking lot that we have running down there and use that for our stuff, laid out the docks. That way also, if we had a nice couple days in February or January, it's really easy to go walk up to something and pull boards off and flip it and fix it.
Yep.
If they're stacked high, it is not easy. And you can't get to anything under them. And it would be really nice. I mean, even if we could employ some people from around to work on them, or some kind of crew to go through them, or have a scheduled maintenance to, attack those docks. Even the painting, we're trying to do the painting of the numbers down on the docks as they're in. It'd be nice to be able to get that done before they're all in. A faster in, a faster out, maybe even if we can hire out people or have more people to do some of the jobs, we can focus our job on some other things. And I think that's going to be pretty big in the future, is You know,
Yeah.
hiring the right people to do the right job and focusing on that and getting things done more efficiently and effectively.
Well, if you didn't stack them and you laid them out like you presented, how much of the pier space would that take up?
Probably all of it,
Mhm.
you know.
I have a suggestion on that. Instead of trying to do them all at once, just
Right.
lay out a certain number per year, a certain section, say A section, and then the rest of them you stack up. So you work over the A section one year, and then the
You
next
could
year.
move them around. I mean, you could
Yeah,
do
well,
a section.
they don't
Yeah.
have the equipment to move them easily though down there.
Well, that's
But
what I'm
there's-
saying. It's, yeah.
If you
There's
had
no actual reason they need to be stacked.
okay,
Right.
just to take enough room, basically.
Yeah, room in the winter. Which room we got to plow, room we got to worry about people leaving things on. If the room was full, people couldn't leave stuff.
Right.
Either.
Stack up the whole end of the pier.
Yeah, I was just saying if it was a problem, you could just, stack some up and leave some open and then rotate them the next year, get through them in, 2 or 3 or 5 years, you get through the whole deal,
Yeah.
Well,
just a suggestion.
so my overall suggestion to this was that we somehow form a budget or something I don't know if you guys actually have like a maintenance for dock budget, because it's always been like replacing them and there's new ones and you guys just do all the rest. I'm just suggesting that maybe we put a kitty aside for just general maintenance. And if these guys need to hire somebody or outsource or whatever, that they have a little bit of money just to take some burden off of their plate and let them do their real job and not have to be, because it is going to get harder and harder as people are going to be more and more demanding, especially since we dredge. It's going to be cost of start, obviously our slip rates are going to go up. People are going to be paying more money. They're going to expect more. So I just think it's something that the average Joe is going to, want to have.
John, you had, we might as well bring in your item because it's related to this. You had requested that Marina infrastructure be on the agenda. You want to take that, John?
Well, yeah, that was more geared toward the continuing discussion about the fuel tanks and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and where we're at on that. I know the engineering company, is it GEI? Is it?
Yes.
Has weighed in, and I just wondered where we're at, and because the existing tanks are still rusting peacefully away.
Well, they're fiberglass, they don't rust.
The existing ones?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were steel.
No, fiberglass.
Oh, okay.
There's double tanks. I remember when they put them in the last time. It's a double tank. I mean, you had to have that. That was required by law.
I see.
The steel ones, that was 40 years ago.
Hmm.
They're long gone.
What
So
about the interconnecting piping?
that's probably iron, yeah. But the tanks themselves are definitely approaching the end of their life, if not there, because there is a lifespan to them.
Yeah.
Gasoline.
At our last meeting on February 27th, which the assistant town administrator attended, along with 2 members of the select board. I gave a presentation on the idea about utilizing Kendrick Avenue for the fuel tanks and for a building that would serve as a restroom facility on one side and the shellfish department on the other. And after that meeting, the chair of the select board told me that she liked the idea, and that the idea of the town purchasing 3 Kendrick Avenue was still very much on the table and was looked favorably upon by several members of the select board. Then the virus pandemic hit and everything slowed down. with only the basics being addressed. And her last comment to me was, that's still viable. And Will and I and Mike walked the property last summer with the chief engineer from GEI, who said that even though the property is on a floodplain, that the fuel tanks could be elevated above ground and be doable. The old building could be torn down with an elevated modern building put up to meet the needs of a restroom and the shellfish department. And I have not heard anything since then. I have not heard anything about the RFPs being returned by GEI. Have you, Will?
The RFPs on what?
On Kendrick Avenue and the fuel tank.
Well, we had a meeting. Dan Robbins has given us somewhat of an update from GEI to prepare us for tomorrow night's select board discussion on the fuel tanks. And our primary reason for waiting was we did not know about 3 Kendrick or what was going on with that until the select board released it from their executive minutes, and to see where we are with the 3 possible ideas, one being right where they are. The number 2 idea being above ground tanks in a different location. And number 3 would be the purchase of Kendrick and the fuel tanks on that property. GEI had kind of outlined a little scenario and kind of basically laid out the cost, in a very, very general sense of what it might be, or a difference might be of above ground and in-ground fuel tanks. And as it turns out, the estimated cost wouldn't be that much different between above ground tanks and in-ground tanks because of the removal process and the fact that you have to remove the whole vault and tanks and fill it all in anyway, no matter what you do. So then you'd be picking a new site. So there would be no significant cost savings to them with the fuel tank being above ground as opposed to in ground. With the other curveball process, because it's going to save a lot of money. Do you want space? Because we're not building more of it down at the Marine.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments?
Is there a difference in the cost of insurance between in-ground tanks and above-ground tanks?
I don't know about the insurance cost. We'd have to ask the town administrator about that. But I do know that the one big with the above ground, in-ground tanks is the amount of work for me and my staff. If you've listened to
You're cutting in and out.
Yeah.
It's the internet.
Will, are you on?
My house too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
I'm in
on?
my house. Well,
Yeah.
Will, are you on now?
Yeah, I'm still here.
As long as we're on that subject, could you speak for a minute about your staffing this summer and what challenges that's going to present you?
Yeah. We don't have a lot of extra staff. Mike has planned to work for 2 days a week until he retires, which he has said that'll be in December. So, that cuts us out a lot of manpower. With Mike gone, of course, because, it's Mike, he can do a lot of things. And without him, we're missing out. But that's how the life cycle goes, as retirement goes, and we have Dave Perry back. We have Pete. He's our nighttime guy that comes in a couple nights a week. He's back. David Dalby, he's back. Jamie will be returning on the 16th or 17th of June, which will be a extreme amount of help when he comes back. As you know, he hustles around the place just like Dave Perry and I. So I can't wait for him to come back. And we hired a new kid, Ben Clute, and he's there now. And everyone is, we're maxing out hours on everyone. We're 40 hours a week, pretty much everyone except for Pete. Pete is, he's just the nighttime guy that comes in and helps out. And we are still hiring. I filled out talked back and forth 3 more people this week. Hopefully they want to come to work, but we've upped the pay another $1 an hour for everyone. Dan, the town administrator, last budget allowed us to do that. So everyone got a little bit of a bump for seasonal bus. So maybe not a restaurant this summer, but that's what we got, and we're just trying to all run around and do the best we can.
What was you mentioned about the fuel tanks, that there was a difference in the workload if there were above ground and below ground, and that got lost somehow, I guess, when you faded out there.
Oh, okay. The above ground tanks, well, actually, let me start with the below ground tanks. The specifications for what we have to do, basically the manual logging and things like system checks, the requirement checks, that is 94. The ground tanks
Is what?
Ground tanks is 10 pages. 10 pages of work.
Well, that got lost again. It was 90 pages for in-ground?
Correct. 90 pages for in-ground, pages for above ground.
10 pages above ground.
Yep. And that also, I believe that, we could hire a company to do that monitoring as well. It costs money, of course, but that would take that work off of our pallet. And again, everything is going to be weighed. Do we pay someone to do it and have free time to work on other things, or do we keep it all in-house? And I think the more time goes on, the more we need to look at incorporating outside help to make the stuff that we do better. And, if someone's going to be better, faster, and more efficient at it, hire them to do it.
Agreed.
I've been advocating that for years,
Me too.
Will, and I'm very encouraged to hear you say that about outsourcing some of the work.
Sounds
Hey,
like a good idea.
Why isn't the DPW getting more involved with doing some of this stuff? I mean, when I was in Reading, the DPW was in charge of making all the street signs in town, getting, all of the, curbing done, all of the signage, all of the painting. And it just seems as though there's a huge disconnect and an overload. We didn't hire Will to be a carpenter, I mean, and it's unfortunate that he's being distracted a little bit, and Mike from before, to have to, focus on a lot of the
Plumbing.
things. I think we should have a lot of downtime with some of these other entities within the town that should be working towards getting this stuff done, to at least lend a helping hand. Outsourcing is important, but we have people here, I think, that are probably pretty capable and have the time to be able to sit and bang a nail into a piece of wood and get this stuff done without having to take Mike or Will away from what they're doing. It's frustrating. I see it as a process of too much of a not enough cooperation, I guess, between the town's ability to say, this is what you should do as well. This is another part of your function, including the police. I'm 32 years in law enforcement, and I'm a little disappointed in some of the lack of, enforcement. I drive through town and I see people parked the wrong way on every street, and it's like you get ticketed in 90% of the communities in Massachusetts for that. And you don't, it's just it's a little unnerving, I guess, and I'm just venting, but.
I think one example of that, Dave, would be the recent big project at the Harwich Marina, where they did a lot of infrastructure work and dredging, and DPW and others in the town were very much involved in that.
I'd like to see more of that. I mean, I think it would help Will out a lot, It would solve some of his problems as far as his time management when it comes to having, have to be the jack of all trades, and it's kind of an unfair position to put him in when there are other people within this town that could probably hold that function, not better perhaps, but, at least focused on a specific task and get it done. It's just, to me, I think it could be organized a little better.
Is tank monitoring something that the DPW could do?
Why couldn't they?
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't know
Well,
why
I
the
think Mike-
DPW couldn't do that.
I think Mike just liked to be like the ring of all masters when they came to that kind of stuff. I really do. I think he just didn't want to give away anything and didn't want to rely on those guys. And I think Will's got a little more open mind, it sounds like, for outside help, which is good.
Well,
I champion Will's idea about outsourcing. I think that would help the whole marina immensely to lighten the
Absolutely.
burden a little bit on everything that's going on down there. I see it every day. There's just only one place you can be at a time, and it's
Right.
one of those things where I think we need to look outside the box, and it's really not that hard to do to figure out who else could do some of this stuff.
Well, this goes to something I brought up last year, which was the lack of enforcement and, of activities in the channel and so forth, because they don't have enough people to do it.
Right.
Well,
One a
speak-
thought on that. Walter, were you going to say something?
with the enterprise fund, I mean, basically, the Marina has to pay town departments to do their work. They pay the police department a certain amount to come check the pier. They could just pay the DPW a little more, like I was saying before, if they had if we had to set aside a chunk of that so that the DPW could come in and go over those floats in the middle of the winter when those guys are looking for something
Right.
to do.
Right.
Right.
But being a retired municipal employee, I know how this all works. I mean, this is going to have to come from the top down, and it's going to have to come from a town administrator, meeting with the various department heads to iron this out, because,
Right.
people for a long time, the different unions have different jobs that they're doing, and if they're going to be asked to do more, it's going to present a problem. And so this has to be, this is not a simple solution. It has to be all ironed out right from the top down.
You're 100% right, Martha. I see that would be a big obstacle, but I think it should be something that should be discussed.
Well, we're about to enter a new phase in the life of the marina and the harbor with the coming of dredging. There are going to be changes, and we also have a new town administrator who is going to be coming on board. Perhaps this might be a good time for Will and the committee to talk about, to make a list of things, to do some realignment and how the town can help the marina. Your thoughts?
Are they actively interviewing for the?
Oh, they have it. They already hired.
They have.
Oh, have they actually
Yeah.
hired?
Yep. today.
Who did they hire?
Joe, what's her name? It's
Maria
a woman who worked. Go ahead, you call me.
Maria.
I know it was down to 2.
Yeah.
Maria Broadbent.
Oh,
Thank you,
okay.
Christine.
See the one from Maryland or the one from,
One from
Annapolis.
Minneapolis? Oh.
But the time, the idea of being proactive, I think is a good one because we are going to get dredging. And there's going to be a lot more activity and more demand there. And I'd like to see Will become a true administrator like other harbor masters are.
Mhm.
And we'll have more challenges and more responsibilities to deal with.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I think that communication has a lot to do with it. Communication,
Yep.
and it's always been a hard thing to do for anyone. And I think the more that we do that, and the more we try that, the better it can be. I know this marina can be more, and we can all make it that way. And I think just communicating our needs a little better to everyone. And even if they say no, just, if we keep asking, you can always be turned down. I know my wife turned me down for a long time before she, so, but, we can,
Really knew what she was doing.
yeah, exactly. Right. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to try.
Sincere.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to keep trying. And, we have a great place that could be even better. So,
Yep.
Yeah. I
Well
agree.
said. Well
Communication is very important. Very important.
When we look at other marinas and the opportunities they present, with regattas and Harbor Fest and those kinds of things, I've gotten, a lot of ideas from various people, many of you. The select board has also indicated that when they can meet again, they want to embark upon a future plan for the marina. And if we aren't a major player at the table in that process, decisions are going to be made without us. So, I, for one, would like the committee to be proactive and present some ideas, working with Will about the future.
I think the idea of getting on a new town administrator is a good one to really tell this person that this is one of the hearts of this town, and things are going to be happening there, and hopefully they're going to be interested in helping that out.
We shouldn't waste time.
For a number of years in the past, she was employed by the seashore, so she knows the area.
We should definitely invite her to a meeting.
She's a sailor. She's from Annapolis, John.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that might be good.
Why don't we think about some kind of presentation we could invite her to, and put some oysters on the table for her. Okay, moving on. Martha, your item was marina usage during the pandemic.
You already did that.
Martha?
Yes, what marina usage during the pandemic?
You had marina usage during the pandemic.
Well, what I was just getting at is that, like I assume that the bathrooms, are all going to be closed, and we have about 8 porta potties down there and a couple hand washing stations. And if I'm correct, we have them at 2 locations. Isn't that correct, Will? One over by the original bathrooms, and then we have more over by the beach sticker house.
yeah, that's correct.
And then the other thing that, that I was concerned with is that with the potential of a lot of other people eating down there with all this takeout food, are there still going to only be like 3 trash cans? And I know that that's been a problem with the DPW because people have been dumping household trash. But I just see a potential of, if here we're all worried about, saliva and, germs and virus, things being transmitted. And yet we have the potential for a lot of stuff being left all over the place.
100% right.
Need a dumpster.
So
Like
they
they have at the
have,
beaches.
yeah,
At the
they have
locker.
put out more trash cans right now. So they have the usual amount back. But they are getting more full because everything is takeout. So they're eating it in the parking lot, because why wouldn't you want to sit in our parking lot and eat? Because
Yeah, that's
what else
exactly,
is better?
what I'm thinking. Yeah. Yeah.
And the crows have been picking at them, but then the DPW is also, what I've been told, is ordered covers, like I tried to get in the past several years. I know you've seen some of them, but we didn't have enough. So I know they've started to order them as well, because the crows are picking up the trash and sorting it out. So every morning at 6:30, I go around and pick up trash too, because I just can't seem to see it blow in the everywhere. It's disgusting, So they've ordered those. And I don't know how long the porta potties are actually gonna stay. If they return the COVID guidelines, then we won't have the porta potties anymore to use, because those are not funded by the Marina. We're not purchasing those for the rentals. So if those went away per the health department, then we would have to open up the bathhouse. And I think that would be time to, or maybe it's even time ahead of time, to anticipate that and try to find a service to clean that bathhouse and maintain it. Instead of, going in there all the time and cleaning it, because I know they're going to want to see it clean more. And, we already need to do it every day. So, if that does open up, that's gonna add to the load. And if we anticipate that ahead of time, just like the trash, let's be ready for it. Let's get people out there and ready to go.
Well, with your shortage this summer, should there be any kind of a crisis with infrastructure or otherwise, I'd really like you to think about, hiring somebody to help you. You don't need any more pressure on you. And to spending some money. On the issue of infrastructure, I was really pleased when my section, B-Dock, was newly built. However, the old, very old rusted cleats were put on the brand new dock. And I don't see that in other harbors when there's new infrastructure made. So I would encourage you to continue to think about spending on projects that, may be overwhelming you and the staff.
Now, if those porta potties got removed, could the Marina, you want to hire somebody to clean the bathhouse? Could we just keep the porta potties there and have the Marina pay for them instead?
When we had a broken septic line this spring, we had a porta potty. I don't know if you guys remember. We had a porta potty or two there earlier. That ran about $2,500 for that period,
Wow.
at least 1 month. So I don't know if we want to go that route.
Cheaper to hire somebody to just clean it up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Hire a cleaning crew. Just like, that's what happens over at the beaches. They have a cleaning crew that comes through, and and then you have someone to fall back on and say, hey, do this. We need to have the bathrooms cleaned, and we can easily hire someone, hopefully easily, to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that a DPW job? Does the DPW hire those guys? Could that be added onto their list?
It hasn't as of yet. And I know the beach department hires an outside firm to do that. I don't know where the money comes or how it gets sorted out for them, but I know that we don't see that from them.
Another thought that I shared with Will was to hire a part-time bookkeeper to deal with the influx of money during the summer, to check on the insurance certificates in all of that arena, so that he wouldn't have to do it. I think that'd be money well spent on a part-time. Any other comments or discussion? Okay,
I-
well, sorry.
Sorry, I was gonna say, yeah, the part-time bookkeeper would be great. I don't know if any of you have ever gone there and not gotten an answer right away or paperwork right away, but a bookkeeper would be able to significantly help that out. That would be an incredible task, and that would, I mean, having that kind of service. I know even when I owned a small landscaping company, we had a bookkeeper and an accountant, because you know how you get the money, how you spend the money, how you account for the money almost makes more than how you earn the money. So
Well, you have over 400 leases that have to go out and then have to come in and be processed. And then the insurance certificates have to be processed. And then, you know, with the revenue generated that's coming in, it just seems like it would take a load off of you.
The fuel sales.
Yeah.
all that.
The whole-
I think
Yeah,
this has been suggested before, to tell you the truth.
I wanted to,
John?
To Mike, I think it was suggested. Yeah.
wanted to throw, you know, since we're talking about the facilities and so forth, you know, looking down the road now that dredging is gradually coming online, at some point we're going to have, once again, a really viable and functional harbor. And we'll still be stuck with, and this is not meant to be a slam at anybody, it's just the way it is, a third world shower and bath facility. And, you know, the plumbing is a mess, and you know, the faucets on the sinks and the showers themselves. Has any thought been given to eventually upgrading any of that?
Well, that was the idea about purchasing Kendrick Avenue and taking the heat off the marina for the public and reserve what's at the marina just for boaters.
Right.
We're dealing with an antiquated septic system there that's not going to go on forever.
Hmm. Well, that might be the opportunity to revamp the actual marina facility. Because, you know, boaters are going to be coming in and spending good money on transient slips and so forth, and then they're faced with that. I think,
part of that is planning. We need to do a lot of planning for the future. We need to lay out a plan. I know the assistant town administrator and Mike Travato and I have, you know, started to think about the future and planning for the marina, planning on new infrastructure, new buildings, new the fuel tanks, you know, even down to separate plans for, you know, you've all seen our rescue boat. You know, that's the rescue boat. The little boats, the vehicles. You know, we need to plan for this stuff. We need to put the money from the marina back into the marina. And like you said, the transient slips and the things that we rent out, you know, people are going to actually need to start, we're going to need to start charging some money for that. $55 a night when we have a fully functioning marina to have a dock, you know, we can get real money for that. You know, let's not sell ourselves short. If people are willing to come, people are willing to pay, you know.
once they're able to get into the harbor, it is a gem on anybody's cruising agenda.
Exactly. And not to mention, even our lunch dockage, you know, the revenue that we bring in on the weekends for all the surrounding restaurants and services that are around there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that goes along with it. As we bring up the upgrades, and we pay for the upgrades, let's bring them up. Let's pay for them. Let's have them, but also let's charge for them. And
Yeah.
we're just going to have to one way or another. And then we can all benefit.
And perhaps the time we should look at that, Will, was when we are close to achieving full dredging.
Yeah, and every stage that we go through, we should be progressively adding to that.
Mhm. The Massachusetts Seaport Economic Council is now under new leadership. The head of it came to a Wellfleet Chamber of Commerce event back in the winter. Mike Fravato knows him very well. They have changed their philosophy. They have offered the town a grant, for example, to showcase the shellfishing industry. They look favorably upon infrastructure upgrades at marinas. So that is an avenue that is open to us in the future that has not been open in the past. Travato has the connections. He also has the experience writing grants. And that's why I wanted to recruit him. I think he can be very helpful to us.
That was going to be my suggestion about the bathhouses, to get Travato to write a grant or a plan for, which Will has obviously already thought of.
Mhm.
So I think that's a good path to follow for sure.
Now, a number of years ago, the town paid for an engineering firm to produce a proposal for a new harbor master office and updated bathroom facilities. I believe the building committee still has those documents. And perhaps they should be looked at. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, Will. But,
Yeah, I have the actual plans.
okay. So they're already on paper and something that could be looked at.
Could be updated easily.
Yeah. Any other comments on that? Okay, Walter, you had requested the last item, which is the harbor master retirement.
Well, yeah, we've been bouncing around this for a little while. Working 2 days a week seems to put Will at quite a disadvantage. There's nothing we can do except wait for him to make his decision, but it seems like, Will's got the responsibility, but he doesn't have the position right now. I just, wanted to comment on the fact that this does kind of put a monkey wrench into the works here a little bit.
I would agree with that. And I would like it if Will was given the authority to move ahead with some of his ideas and to incorporate them into the operation down there. One we heard certainly is outsourcing, contracting out some of the work that could be done rather quickly and done well.
Now, could he be appointed acting harbor master until something happened by the selectmen?
I don't know. We have one town administrator who has 1 foot out the door and a newbie coming in, and a select board right now that is consumed with whether or not to open up rentals for the summer and a host of other issues. So I don't know the answer to that.
Is this a union issue? Could it possibly be a union issue?
Harbor master, is harbor master in a union?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The both of us are in the same union,
Oh, okay.
in the same bargaining unit, which is a little strange for that. Usually you'd be in a separate bargaining unit as your superior.
Yeah.
But we are in the same, and it just depends how they want to look at it. I guess according to our contract, If Mike is gone for 3 weeks, then I would get his pay and powers because I would be acting for more than 3 weeks
Okay.
in his absence. Otherwise, every second that Mike isn't there, by law, I am the harbor master.
Okay.
So, but that's a state requirement as opposed to the contract issue. So whenever he's not there, I am in that position.
Yeah.
I just don't have the town authority or pay to coincide with that.
Yeah.
But I think most of the people in town, I've been working really well with them. They've been working really well with me.
Great.
As soon as they realize, how everything is going and where we're going with everything, I haven't run into any real roadblocks as far as working with people for that. No one's actually said, well, I can't do this with you or anything like that.
Okay.
So I think now it's just a process of moving forward with that. And as far as Mike's concerned, he has pretty much, given me a lot of carte blanche to move ahead with things.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't get the pay, but
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons. If you were promoted to acting harbor master pending his full retirement and the appointment of a new harbor master, hopefully you, then you could have maybe a little bit of compensation, but
Well,
like Joe said, the selectmen, who knows what's going to happen there.
Well, didn't the harbor master position recently get a pay upgrade?
July 1st. July
To-
1st, new fiscal year.
Yeah, to, what was the amount?
It's a 10% upgrade, which I believe will bring it up to about 90 a year, approximately.
Okay.
Now, Will, it's, how does this process work? You don't automatically become does this have to go out to do they have to apply, ask people to apply for this position?
When
Could this get sticky?
When Mike retires, they have to put it out as a regular job posting and accept applications from,
Mhm.
Hopefully they're accepting applications, and they will, from all over the country.
Mhm.
But until that day, depends on how he goes about retiring. If he's not going to be here, then they would need someone to step in as acting. And if he is going to be here, then he would be it until he retires.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Okay. I'm looking at another date, but I also wanted to put an idea on the table for our next meeting. If the town is not allowed to resume the normal meeting together physically, I was wondering what you would think of the idea of my asking the select board if we could meet in a location with the appropriate 6-foot distancing and conduct a meeting outdoors like that. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a little easier to do this in person, tell you the truth.
Yeah, I do too. Anybody
I have
else?
no problem with doing that.
No, I don't either. I'm fine either way.
Mhm.
I prefer that.
Joe, you got a big boat. We could do it on your boat. There's enough room.
Yeah, sure. Or your backyard. The way you cook on that grill, you could make
Yeah,
it.
my backyard's got room.
My calendar shows that the 4 weeks going back to a Wednesday, if that's what you want to do, is July the 8th. What are your thoughts about that?
Looks good to me. I mean, if we started at 5 o'clock and, down at Mayo Beach or so, it probably would have to be on town property, I would imagine, in some kind of.
I had a bar in mind, actually.
Oh, well, that's good too.
Yeah, I mean,
What about doing it down the bandstand?
Do it on the band. There you go.
yeah,
End of the
Well,
pier.
something to think about. I mean,
Yeah,
talk about it before the meeting date, but
so we don't know what the weather will do.
July 8th, okay with everybody?
Yep.
All right, why don't we tentatively say 7 o'clock? And as soon as I hear whether we're still going to Zoom or what the format will be, I'll shoot out an email.
Yeah, we can change things around if we have to, yeah.
Sure. I want to thank Courtney for doing another great job. She's working day and night. Courtney, are you there?
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad to host it.
Thank you very much. She's doing
You're welcome.
select board meetings, committee meetings, the emergency management team, and I hope they're paying you double overtime.
Maybe the new woman will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good luck with her.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much, everybody, and stay safe, huh?
Are we adjourned?
We need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right.
Martha? And the time is 8:57.
I'll second.
John
Thank you.
second.
All
Time is
right.
8:57. I think we're all set.
All right.
Grilled
Thank you.
chicken.